You know, as a nation, we're supposed to be advocates and enthusiasts for democracy. Democracy means that those who have to live with a decision must therefore participate in making it. We do not allow political decisions about our communities to be made by people who have no responsibility to us, who have to live with them. And yet, when you go to work every day, to your factory, to your office, to your store, you walk into a place in which the decisions, what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, and what to do with the fruits of your labor are made by somebody else who has no responsibility to you in reaching those decisions whatsoever. If democracy is valuable, how in the world did we come to be in a society which doesn't make them valuable and applicable in the place we spend most of our adult lives? 5 out of 7 days, 9 to 5, you're at work. That's where your lifetime as an adult is mostly spent. If democracy is a value, it would have to apply there. By what rule was it excluded at the front door?
Especially in the midst of a recession, where unemployment is so high, where people are really worried about outsourcing, employee ownership, the capability of people to own the places in which they work, means that those companies are not going to be running to China. Morale in those companies are higher because people are actually participating in the democratic decision-making process. So I think this is a great idea. It has been for many years. Vermont and Ohio are leaders in this area.
I think introducing the idea of workplace democracy is it's one of those roads we have to go down. You should check this out. You go on the internet, workplace cooperatives. There's a guy named Tom Webb. There's the Mondragon people over in Spain doing it. So, you know, I think eventually if we're going to call this a democracy, you can't call it a democracy if we just get the vote every 2 or 4 years and then just say, oh, that's the democracy. There's got to be there's going to be democracy in the workplace. There's got to be democracy in our economy. You know, a few hundred years from now, assuming the planet makes it that long, they're going to look at us and they're going to think we were idiots. The way we look at people 150 years ago putting leeches on their body when they were sick, you know, and we laugh at that. I think they're going to laugh at us. Look at these people. They were running around saying they lived in a democracy, and yet they spent 8 to 10 hours a day in a dictatorship where they had no say. And then as consumers in an economy, again, they were led to believe they had a say by what they bought.
Democratic control of institutions, whether they're communities or workplaces or any others, alliances among them, you know, federal arrangements. These are all perfectly feasible alternatives. There's no economic or political theory that tells us there's anything wrong with them. They conflict with the structure of existing power systems, and therefore the educational and cultural system tries to drive them out of your minds and make them seem, you know, insane or crazy or unthinkable. But there's nothing unthinkable about them, and you can move towards realizing them. In fact, even in the United States, where you get no major discussion of these things, there are probably thousands of self-managed enterprises, not huge ones, but lots of them, and they're growing. And they could, as I mentioned, they could reach the scale of, say, producing the green technology, high-speed rail, and so on that the country badly needs.
There are 130 million Americans who are members of co-ops, and credit unions, which is also a co-op form. That's 40% of the society. Very interesting. And the credit unions themselves, been there a long time, standing there, kind of an ordinary, mundane institution. Taken together, they have more capital than any one of the giant 5 big New York banks. There's another place. Most people don't know there are 11 million Americans who are members of worker-owned companies. That's about 3 million more than are members of unions in the private sector. The press, by the way, doesn't cover any of this. It's very important. They don't have the money, and they don't have the interest, they don't have the reporting staffs. So you have to really dig to find out these things that are pretty obvious if you look at them. there are 11 million people in worker-owned companies. Another illustration, suggestive, not definitive, suggestive of a different way to organize the ownership of wealth and capital institutionally. That might be another place to look for building up something more in the direction of a new system. Everywhere I've gone, you find people trying to build new co-ops, getting very sophisticated about co-op development, land trust development, agriculture. A lot of it's green, and they're beginning to take into their own hands the redesign of this kind of effort. Well, in Ohio today, you'll find more worker-owned companies per capita probably than any other state. Because there aren't any other answers and no jobs, a lot of the country looks like Ohio has looked for the last 30 years. The Rust Belt states went first. Out of that pain, there's also been innovation and sophistication and further development, not just numbers. So in Cleveland today, you will find a complex of large-scale worker-owned companies linked together by a revolving fund and linked together also by a nonprofit corporation so that they make money to help rebuild the community, as well as with the revolving fund, keep starting new worker-owned companies. So what I mean, they're really significant companies. They just opened about 2.5 months ago the largest urban greenhouse in the United States. They have a very large-scale greenhouse, industrial-scale greenhouse, to serve laundry to the hospitals in the area. And also there's a solar installation company online to put in just about double the amount of solar that exists in Ohio. And the idea is to keep building a complex that builds the community. And they're not freestanding worker-owned companies. They're linked together to build the community. They can't run off. And that's the idea. So notice you've got an increase in scale and innovation, and now it's a community building structure. Some of you know about Mondragon in the Basque country of Spain. This is built in part on Mondragon, but the community structure is even more innovative. So the thing to look at there is over 30 years, not only growth in numbers, but growth in sophistication.
Believe that it isn't good for anybody if somebody loses their job. If you lose your job, you haven't got money. If you haven't got money, you can't buy. If you can't buy, you can't buy our product.
El reparto de la riqueza más equitativa llega a más personas y por lo tanto más personas tienen la posibilidad de vivir más o menos bien.
La empresa es nuestra, pero somos trabajadores también, ¿no? Entonces no hay como un jefe que pueda haber en otras empresas, ¿no? Todos somos nuestros jefes y todos tenemos que tirar para adelante con la empresa.
La gran mayoría de las personas se integre más, se envuelva más y por tanto podemos ser más competitivos y competir con la empresa más mejor del mundo. Es el futuro, tenemos del mundo laboral también.
En aquella sociedad anónima era realmente la sensación de trabajar para otro, acabar la hora y a casa y se acabó. Esto es algo como que forma parte más de nuestra vida, ¿no? Porque tomamos parte desde la cabeza hasta la cola de la organización, ¿no?
Al final que tenemos trabajo, que es muy importante. Muchas veces hay empresas que son capitalistas, si hay un tipo de paro, pues vas a la calle. Habrá unos que salen mal y otros mejor, pero tienes trabajo, no te mandan a la calle.
Evergreen Cooperatives is a network of employee-owned businesses. We are looking at a new paradigm for creating wealth in the Cleveland community. We will create a network of for-profit businesses that will hire from the neighborhoods, and the employees will own the businesses that are created.
It can't be just another initiative. I think for all of us, we want this to have meaning and scale and to be transformative, and it's just that simple.
Because this is more than a job. This is an ownership opportunity. Having people able to participate in the creation and access to wealth that would normally be excluded is really the best part of this.
I envision being one of the owners to make the decisions about Evergreen and expanding.
As these businesses grow, that roots these projects in the community long term. That's good for us because as we reestablish relationships and create new supply chains and new service relationships, we don't have to go back and revisit them, as companies move in and out of the market and things like that.
It can't do nothing but benefit the neighborhood. When you make money and you spend your money where you make it at, it gets to float around. And when it floats around, it benefits everybody that touches it.
It isn't just a job, it is their future long term, and we think that can really help bring about some positive change in the neighborhood.
I had some good people out there that believed in me, and they gave me a second chance. And so I can plan for my future now.
They are really willing to put the hard work necessary to make a difference in their own lives and the lives of their families.
This really is just the beginning. It's a great model. This is a real deal, and you can see the guys over here and the ladies that are going to own this company, and what an incredible opportunity.
My name is Michael McNeary, and I am an employee of Ohio Solar Cooperative, and I'm also an owner.
It is really a great day for Cleveland. It's a great day for the employee owners. It's really a great day for all of us working together.
It is comprehensive and very thoughtfully planned. It is transformative in a way that enhances the quality of life for all of those who will be touched by it. It is innovative and unique, and it provides sustainable services to Cleveland's institutions.
I just envision us being everywhere in Cleveland. Like, we'll have plenty of them. Like, every time you turn around, you'll see Evergreen.